What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Punt Intended, your number one source for college football. Knowledge, I guess. You may be noticing we're one short today. Colin had some stuff he had to take care of. He'll be back next week, I'm sure. But this is Hutto rather. You're on my right on the recording. Hutto,
What's up, brother?
another great week of college football, man. There were some upsets.
Yeah.
I guess there were some upsets. There was a lot of overtime, a lot of great games. So let's start with that. We'll start with week 7. Week 7 was great. Biggest losers from week 7, Hutto. Who you got for your biggest loser of week 7?
My biggest loser is Ole Miss. That was a tough game, but LSU's really had their struggles. Ole Miss was, obviously LSU was, it's not like it was a big upset. It could have gone either way, but Ole Miss had they're a what were they, top five team,
I'm
or
not
had they?
sure. They're
No, they're
top
number.
10.
I think they're 6. I know they're top 10 for sure, but I think that loss kind of put them at odds for going to the SEC championship. I mean, which you never know. We got a lot of teams that are losing left and right. Alabama is had a loss, had some games that they really struggled in that they pulled out. Just this last week against South Carolina, 2 weeks ago against Georgia. So, the SEC. This is what's crazy about the 12-team playoff is it is making for some really at this point in the year you kind of usually know who's got a good idea of who's going to go to the playoffs, but at this point it's you really don't know who's going to be in the SEC championship, neither with the big, any of the other conferences. So
Yeah.
it's proven to be a crazy year.
Oh yeah, it's been a great year for college football. Not quite as crazy as 2007, but who knows how the season will end. My biggest loser was also Ole Miss. For the simple fact that, like you said, with 2 losses, an upcoming matchup with Georgia, it's going to be hard for them to make the college football playoff. In my opinion, it really is. It's looking bleak for them. Which, in my opinion, for Florida fans, and according to the people, the boosters, and the people on the board, etc., they seem to be setting their targets on Lane Kiffin once Billy's gone. I think Billy's gone, especially after this weekend. It was awful. But yeah, so the more Lane Kiffin loses, I know it looks worse for his resume, but it's good for Gator fans if you want him as your coach. They still also play Oklahoma and Arkansas, 2 teams that are scrappy. I know Oklahoma's offense is kind of pretty bad, but if they can score 24 to 30 points, they could beat Ole Miss. I think their defense is stingy. Arkansas, same thing.
I really don't see Ole Miss firing Lane Kiffin.
Oh no,
I
they're
think
not
he
going to
has one
fire him.
more year. Now, with that being said, I think that Florida can get rid of Billy and then offer Lane a job and be like, "Hey, here's some cash. We need to turn this program around." Absolutely, but
That's what I
I
think is going to happen. Ole Miss won't fire Lane Kiffin. They owe him a pretty good bit of money, I think. 2, he's done a solid job since there. When's the last time Ole Miss has been like national championship contenders? Not saying that they are
yeah.
this year, but preseason a lot of people had them
Well, I mean,
pegged to make the
they were a
playoffs.
top 5 team at one point. So I mean,
Yeah,
I definitely think you need to give Lane and that team, give them their props, give them
yeah,
their flowers.
yeah. A lot of people
They
are
definitely
mad.
performing a lot better.
Oh yeah, a lot of people are mad though. They spent a bunch of money in the transfer portal on some portal acquisitions this offseason, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And Lane has lost 2 games. The Kentucky loss was kind of bad, and then that was a great game with LSU. But anyway, moving on. Biggest winners. I'll start us off. I had 2 this week. Oregon, great win at home, protecting the home field against Ohio State. A very good opponent. I think they'll probably face off again in the Big Ten championship game if everything goes the way I think it's going to go. Great statement win for Dan Lanning. He's struggled in the big games thus far in his tenure at Oregon. He wins the ones he's supposed to, and then when the competition is kind of stiff, they seem to fold a little bit. But that's a great win at home. Big statement win for them. Next one was Texas. They were number 1 in the country. They still look like the number 1 team in the country to me. Domination over Oklahoma. Like I stated last week's podcast, Quinn Ewers did come out a little bit rusty, but once he got that rust knocked off, he looked good. The defense was solid. Everything kind of snowballed and went Texas's way, and they ended up dominating Oklahoma. Those are my 2 winners from the week. Putto, who you got?
Um, I actually went with the same game. I went with LSU only because I think this is a good win for Brian Kelly. I always thought Brian Kelly was going to be a really good fit at LSU. He hasn't won the kind of games that I thought he was going to win. I really did. I thought Brian Kelly at LSU was going to be a national championship contender within the first 3 years. Obviously that's I thought wrong, but I mean, I think Kelly can still do well, and the reason being is because I mean, look at Notre Dame; they were always in spots that they couldn't. He was always coaching them to places that they shouldn't have been as a team. That's not a shot to any of the guys who played at Notre Dame. They're just not. The way their conference is laid out, they don't really get that many challenges. They kind of pick and choose who they want to play, which to me works out with your scheduling. You get you get a lot of wins on the board, but when you go to play big dogs, when you got to play Alabama or Georgia, and you end up looking stupid in the playoffs or whatever, I think that comes to your disadvantage. But I always thought that Brian Kelly was a fairly good football coach, so I think that's a great win for him. I think it's a great win for the LSU team.
Yeah, for sure. Keeps their playoff
Oregon as
hopes.
well, though, Oregon was gonna be my number two.
Yeah, great win for both of those teams. Like you said, Brian Kelly, that's a big win. For whatever reason, LSU seems under the Brian Kelly tenure seems to start off slow every year. Seems like they lose the
Yeah.
opening game, and by the end of the year, they're rolling. So them winning this game around the middle of the season is big for them. I think keeps their playoff hopes alive, keeps their SEC championships hopes alive, and yeah, just a great win, great football game. All right, so moving on, we've got players of the week. Hutto, who did you have for players of the week this week?
My player of the week once again is going to be Ashton Gentry, or Genty, yeah,
Genty.
Genty. Man, if they don't give this kid the Heisman, it's rigged. I mean, you've got a guy who he could have hit the transfer portal and gone to anywhere in the nation. And this year too, what is he, a sophomore or junior?
Junior.
He's a junior. Yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, this kid might, if he stays, I mean, that just shows his character, how he, that he actually cares about the Boise team. I'm not saying I don't think he's going to stay if he's a junior. I think he's probably going to go into the league and make that money. But I mean, this guy, he stayed on the team. He had an opportunity to leave. You don't see that with this kind of talent these days, that they're staying on, you know, teams that, yeah, Boise is a D1 team, but they're not really, they've never been a national championship caliber team.
Right.
And I think that shows that shows that he's loyal to his team, he's loyal to his coaches, and just the way he's been playing. We haven't seen numbers from a running back like this in a very long time. I mean,
Yeah.
it's his gameplay is phenomenal. So that Ashton is my player of the week again.
I think
It really is. It's honestly awesome to see somebody play like this.
Yeah, I think he's the clear Heisman front runner right now, barring any injury or any games where he's just has a terrible game. Then I think it's his to lose right now. Ashton Genty was one of my players of the week as well. 31 carries, 217 yards, like 7 a pop or something like that, and a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown. But I had two just in case one of y'all had Ashton Genty as well. Luke Altmaier, quarterback, Illinois, leads the Fighting Illini to a 50-49 conference win over Purdue. He threw for 379 yards, 3 touchdowns. Solid performance. He's played great this year. I think he's exactly what Illinois needs at quarterback. He doesn't turn the ball over and gives them a chance to win. So yeah, and I think also another one I'll add is Carson Beck. He threw for a bunch of yards against Mississippi State. I didn't get to watch the performance, so I don't know if it was. I don't know how he actually played. Sometimes the numbers don't tell everything, but I do know he
Carson
threw for
did
a bunch of yards.
he played a lot better than he has been playing. Carson, if you see this, please break up with your girlfriend, bro. For my sake, it's really hurt my heart that I feel like you're not this focused because this lady is destroying us. But I mean, don't be mad.
I
I know
can't
you're
blame
probably not
him.
going to see
She
this.
is bad. Miss
Dude,
Cavender.
we want national championships, not miss. We don't care about
Oh yeah,
women.
I agree.
National championships over women.
I'm just wondering, and let me ask you, somebody that how do I say this without coming off bad? How does somebody who looks
No,
like
stop.
like that
I'm not
get somebody
doing it.
that looks like this?
I'm not doing it.
The
Bro,
math
I'm
is
not doing
mathing.
it.
Anyway, shout out Carson Beck. I'm jealous.
They're gonna have super athletic kids.
They probably will. She's very athletic, and Carson Beck was good at baseball as well, so very stellar athlete. All right, moving on. Games of the week for week 8. Not a ton of great games, but there are some. I think it's kind of top heavy. These top games are pretty good in my opinion. We'll start off number 6, Miami, favored by 4.5, traveling to Louisville. Hutto, what you got for me in this Miami Louisville game?
I'm gonna have to go with Miami. They've been, I mean, dude, Cam Ward has been pretty phenomenal this year. Actually, the whole Miami team has been really good, so that's who I'm gonna have to go with.
Okay, let me put you down. I'm gonna have to remind me to text Colin in the group to get his picks. We'll get his
All
picks, even though he wasn't on the show this week. So for me, Miami has won all their games, obviously, but some people would say that they should have lost 2 games, that the refs may have bailed them out. I think they played well enough to win both games. I'm not saying the refs bailed them out, so I'll just say anyway. I think Miami pulls out a victory. I think it's close. Or close for a little bit. I think Miami scores late to put it away. I'm going to go 31-21 Miami. I think they cover the spread as well. So shout out to Miami. Fitting to be, I think this will make them either 6 or 7-0. I can't remember. But yeah, shout out to Miami. The U may be back indeed. Next game, we'll go Nebraska, traveling to number 16, Indiana. Indiana undefeated right now. I'll start this one off. Is Indiana undefeated? Of course they are. The best team they've probably played thus far might be Northwestern, and that's not saying much. Northwestern's not that good of a team. Nebraska is going to be the best team they've played thus far, in my opinion. Definitely the best quarterback situation they've played. So I'm gonna take an upset here. Indiana's favored by 5 points. I'm gonna take the Cornhuskers to win out right here. I'm gonna go 24-16, a little bit lower scoring affair here. Hutto, what you got?
I was gonna say the same thing. I really do. Indiana obviously they've had a good season so far, but their resume versus who they're playing is not super impressive, like you said.
Right.
I'm gonna have to go with Dylan Raiola in Nebraska. I think that I actually think they're gonna win by 10, but I think they're gonna come out and really play some heavy ball, and there's gonna be some slobber knocking hits out there. So.
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna have
like
to
it.
go with Nebraska.
Hey, the Nebraska fans, if you're patient with Matt Rule, you've got your quarterback of the future. I think Matt Rule's got you in the right direction. Just a little bit more patience. I know you're better than you have been in years anyway. So, all right, moving on. This one, I'm not sure. I think I did update the rankings yesterday. I'm not 100% sure though. I think the new AP dropped yesterday when I. Anyway, number 7 Alabama traveling to number 11 Tennessee Neyland. Alabama favored by 1.5. Hutto, what do you got for me in this one?
So they're traveling to Tennessee.
Yeah, it's at Neyland.
To me, I think that this makes the biggest difference in the world in this game. I honestly think these two teams are really neck and neck as far as where the program's at. Obviously both of their coaches are, capable coaches. They've worked with these guys in and out every week. I don't think either one of these teams, whoever loses, I don't think either one of these teams get robbed. I don't think there could be an upset in this game.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna have to go with Tennessee coming off of struggling with Florida. I think they're going to practice hard this week. I think that they're going to, you've got a lot of game play that you can watch from Alabama. I think they're going to be in the film room. I think that these past couple of days, especially with South Carolina, you saw a lot of Alabama's weaknesses, and so I think Tennessee takes this one away and gives Alabama their. Have they lost yet?
Yeah, Alabama lost to Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I think they give them. Yeah, I forgot they did last week, but I think they give Alabama their second loss.
Yeah, I think whoever loses this game, again, like similar to Ole Miss, you're in a similar position where you're at 2 losses midway through the year, and it's going to be hard for you to win out, make the SEC championship game, and eventually make the playoff. So I think these teams are in very similar situations. Alabama and Tennessee, that is. They've both been struggling lately. Alabama lost to Vanderbilt, gave up a 40 burger to Vanderbilt. And then they almost, some would say, should have lost to South Carolina Saturday. Tennessee, same thing on the road in Arkansas. The offense looked horrible. The defense has been pretty solid, though. Same thing, they struggled with Florida. Florida, in my opinion, and I guess you could say a bias, I'm a Florida fan. I think Florida should have won by 2 touchdowns minimum, but we have an incompetent head coach, which is unfortunate. I think the defense. I think it's going to be a very close game. I think the defenses are going to play good. Not saying Alabama's defense is great. I don't think Florida's defense is great either, and they were able to contain Dylan Sampson and Nico for most of the night. I just think Alabama has a better roster. I think the coaches are similar. I would give Heupel the nod probably on the offensive side of the ball. Just give me. I'm just gonna go with Bama. I think it could go either way though. I think it's gonna be close. I think I had Bama 28-24 final for Bama. But like I said, I think it could go either way. Let me write down who you have.
It could go either way. It could go either way for sure.
Yeah, like I said, I think these are very similar teams.
I think with it being in Neyland Stadium, I think that's going to give Tennessee, especially off the, game where they really struggle with Florida. I think that's going to give them the upper hand. They're going to be, wanting to come back and prove something, and they're at home. So,
yeah, let me go ahead and give props to Neyland and Tennessee faithful. It was incredibly loud in there on Saturday. So props. I mean, that's almost every week with Tennessee though. They've got a great fan base, one of the best in the country. So next we'll go Notre Dame, favored by 8.5 points, going to Georgia Tech in Atlanta. Okay, I let Hutto start the last one, so I'll start this one. Notre Dame has been looking better offensively, and the defense is going to play fantastic in my opinion. I think Georgia Tech is a very gritty team. I think Haynes King, I think a lot of times teams take the identity of their quarterback. Haynes King's a gritty guy, a competitor. But when it comes down to it, I think the gap in the rosters right now is a little too much. I think Notre Dame just has a better roster. But I do think Brent Key has the Jackets going in the right direction. They are feisty. They don't give up. But I'll take the Irish here, 28-20. I think it's a lower scoring game again. What you got, Hutto?
Well, I was playing NCAA 25 this week, and I pulled a Romello Height card.
I have the Romello Height card as well. Shout out to
a 91 Romello Height. Shout out to one of our Dublin's own. And I think that was a sign. Georgia Tech will upset because Georgia Tech is not ranked. Georgia Tech's not ranked. So, and Notre Dame is 8 or 9?
No, Notre Dame is number 12, but they're favored by 8.5 points.
Okay, so, I think Georgia Tech is actually going to pull this one off. I have no faith in Notre Dame, really. I really never had. Even when Brian Kelly was there, it seemed like, even if they were coached up really well, they just seemed like they were always come short. So I think Georgia Tech's going to take this away with my signal from NCAA 25. Shout out to Mello Height. I appreciate you coming in clutch for the ultimate team.
Facts. All right, and the punt intended game of the week, number 5 Georgia, heading to Austin, Texas to take on the Longhorns. The Longhorns are favored by 3.5 on FanDuel as of yesterday, which will be Sunday. Hutto's a Georgia fan. I'll let him close this one out. I'll start this one. Like I said earlier, Quinn Ewers did start out a little bit rusty, but he settled down probably a little bit after the first quarter, about midway through the second quarter. Now, saying that, I think Kirby's going to have a fantastic game plan. The Dogs have been sputtering as of late, a little bit. They're winning their games, don't get me wrong, but some would say not in the fashion that you would expect from a Kirby Smart-led team. And sometimes that could be Kirby knowing there's a big game coming up, not wanting to get a lot of, his great players injured or show too much on film. But my heart is telling me UGA, pick UGA. Go with the coach that's been there, that's coached the big games, that has multiple national championships. But I'm going to go with my eyes on this one. I'm going to take the Longhorns. I'm going to go 34-28 Longhorns. They score late and hold off the Dogs.
Well, and obviously, look, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, even with what I think, I could think what on paper, it doesn't look good for the Dogs, but I refuse. I will not pick against Georgia. With that being said, take my, rant here or, opinion with a grain of salt. Georgia's offense does look like, because I will be the first to admit I have been criticizing Carson Beck on his gameplay. I've been criticizing Mike Bobo. It just seems like it's not the Georgia that we've seen the past 5-6 years. even before the national championships, we were playing better football than this. We have looked absolutely terrible lately. We have not looked like a Kirby Smart team. But for some reason, I just feel it deep in my bones that UGA is, with all these upsets, floating around. UGA is going to go to Texas, and UGA will, in fact, upset Texas.
I love it. I love it.
Again,
I wanted to pick Georgia so bad. I hate picking Texas. I really do.
again,
They're a newcomer to the SEC. I want Georgia. I'll probably be rooting for Georgia on Saturday, but right now I'm just gonna go with Texas because I'm gonna trust my eyes, and we'll see how that does me.
we'll go back to the ultimate team. I played a guy, Texas dude, the other day. It was Georgia versus Texas, and I beat him 28-21.
I love it.
And so I think the NCAA gods have given me this score. And Georgia will, it'll be a very close game. Georgia will pull it out in the end, 28-21 Bulldogs.
I love it. I love it. All right, last segment. Colin's not here, so we're not gonna have trivia from Colin. We'll let him make that up next week. He has homework now. We'll go upset alert for week 8. Hutto, what team are you putting on upset alert?
Honestly, I was kind of looking at it, and the last couple of weeks we really haven't had some major. Obviously, the Nebraska-Indiana game, me and you both, called Nebraska for this. That would be considered an upset because Nebraska is not ranked and Indiana is top 20. But from what I'm looking at, I would be willing to say. I mean, you could also call the Georgia Tech game an upset, but I want to be, because our upsets have been pretty good picks. I'm gonna go Virginia knocking off Clemson.
I like it. Hey, Virginia. I can't remember who Virginia played last week. They played, or a couple weeks ago. They played somebody pretty close. I can't remember who it was though. Anyway, mine is going to be James Madison. Now that may not sound like a big upset, but they're favored by 10.5 points right now at Georgia Southern. They're going to Paulson Stadium. Georgia Southern. I don't know if you guys watched the Georgia Southern game last week. I've turned it on, and it was 23-3 Marshall in the fourth quarter, and I turned it off. Little did I know, I got a notification later that Georgia Southern came back and won the football game. Georgia Southern, what happened was Georgia Southern's quarterback, starting quarterback, J.C. French, I guess it was on a run play or something. He got hit and went into concussion protocol. Dexter Williams comes off the bench, throws 3 touchdowns, and they win 24-23 at home. Wide out to honor Ert Russell, which was awesome. So I'm gonna pick Georgia Southern to upset James Madison this week, a 10.5 point underdog.
I like it. Y'all got Florida has a tough game this week. Kentucky, it's in the swamp though, so it might be, it might not be as tough a game.
Oh, it's gonna be a tough game. I want you to know that there may have been, if they're a Power 4 team, there's no easy game with Billy Napier as your head coach. He likes to sit on leads. Do you feel bad
for Napier at all?
Do I feel bad for him? No. And I'll tell you why. I like Napier as a person, and a lot of people say, you don't know what kind of person he is. I can tell what kind of, he has good character, and I can tell you how I know that, because these players, right now, you're a 3-loss team, or you were coming into Tennessee, a 2-loss team. Your season's pretty much like, you're not fitting to run the table. You're not going to beat Texas, Ole Miss, and Georgia to save your season. It's just not going to happen. The kids know that their season's pretty much over, and they came out and played hard. They played with intensity. They played for each other. I think Billy Napier has instilled a good, culture at Florida. I think he's a good guy. I think he's a good family guy. He's just not the football coach for Florida. And I'll tell you why I don't feel bad for him. When we fire him this year, he's going to make $26 million to go sit at home. I don't feel bad for him. So,
I did, man. I saw him the other day in a press conference, and he just seemed like such a likable guy. And I was like, man, I wonder if Tate feels bad for this guy.
I like him as a person. I would drink a beer with Billy Napier. I would have a barbecue with Billy Napier. He can't coach my football team anymore.
Do you think Billy would have a beer with you if he heard all the terrible things you said about him?
I think Billy knows. Don't take it personal. I just don't think you're a very good football coach. I think he had a very good opportunity to save his job this offseason. And a lot of Florida, I don't know if the brass at Florida was calling for this as well, but a lot of the fans wanted him to hire an offense coordinator because his offense is just so bland and vanilla, and it doesn't produce Like you saw it, we went to the red zone I think 6 times in this game and scored 7 points out of the 6
Yeah.
times we went to the red zone.
Do,
Something crazy.
do you think there is a path for Billy Napier to go back to a different team and
Oh
you
yeah,
know
yeah.
get into the running with? And do you think he could be a playoff contention coach again?
Somewhere else,
Yes.
I don't know about playoff contender. I think he'll have to. He's going to have to. He reminds me of a Dabo Sweeney or a
Mark Rick.
maybe a Mark Ritt would be a good example. He has this mindset in a way, and he's not going to veer off of it. If Billy will take his head out of his butt and realize, hey, this pistol offense, run first offense, it's great if you have a good offensive line. We don't, Billy. It's not gonna work. We have to right now. What you need to do, we have 2 offensive line coaches. That's rare in college football, and it's the worst in my opinion. Now they've played better lately, but it's the worst unit on our team. Our wide receiver and skills, I think we have great skill. I think our quarterback situation is above average. Our running backs are great. The defensive line's solid. And they've been playing great the last 2 games. The defense balled. Our kryptonite is that offensive line. That's why I'm not saying they got Graham Mertz hurt because it was a non-contact injury when he got hurt, but he has taken a beating. And I could tell. I think it was the first or second drive. I broke down the game yesterday, so if you watch the video on YouTube from yesterday, you'll see. I pointed out when Graham Mertz drops in the back to pass, he's jittery. He's looking, just waiting to get hit. It's hard to play quarterback like that. So
I also think a struggle that Florida's having is this two quarterback system that they have. There's some people are like, oh yeah, you bring this one quarterback in for this situation and bring this other quarterback in when you need a runner and this that. I think that projects what your next move is going to be. And I don't think the quarterback, obviously you have a bunch of other leaders on the team. You can have DBs that are, all stars, really great players, really great leaders. But your quarterback is who your team is centered around. And I
yeah,
feel like that if your coach, I really do think this is one of the reasons that they're not doing very well is because I think that they don't have anybody to look to that is for sure Florida's leader.
yeah.
Uh,
I think they can look. I don't think that's the case, and I think Graham Mertz was the leader. I think that was pretty clear. But Billy, it doesn't matter who you have at quarterback when you've got 4th and literally this much. It's 4th down and this much. You have a 6'5" quarterback in 240 pounds, and you run a jet sweep. What are we doing? Get under center. We're in the shotgun, bro. We're in a shotgun. We're 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. We have to now go 6 yards to get a first down instead of falling forward for an inch. Get under center. Run the quarterback sneak with DJ Lagway. First down. I can't, dude. And then when he finally makes the right call in the red zone, in my opinion, we get to the 1 yard line. I mean, I'm not saying it's the right call, but I'm not mad at the quarterback sneak he called on the 1 yard line. Graham Mertz just fumbled, so and then it makes him look even worse. It's like,
I don't
dear
know.
God.
I just don't like the 2 quarterback system. I think it makes you look as a coach. It makes you look unsure, or that you can't make a decision. So
Well, I think Billy's in a unique situation with the NIL, the transfer portal. I think he has to play DJ some, or DJ's going to transfer.
yeah.
And you don't want to, like, I think him and Graham Mertz complement each other pretty well, but you also don't want to shit on Graham Mertz, who came out the transfer portal and literally has been put in a body bag several games and done nothing but lead your team. So he's in a unique position. I'm not mad at the 2 quarterback situation. I would love for him to use it more situational though. Right now it's over now because Graham Mertz is out for the year. Shout out to Graham Mertz. Love Graham Mertz. Been a fan. But I think DJ does have more upside. But at some point, Billy, if you're going to play 2 quarterbacks, use it situationally. Don't like when Urban Meyer was there and we had Chris Leak and Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow would come in on 4th and short and either run it or throw it. I mean, he could do both. But Chris Leak was your leader and played the majority of the snaps. Now, Billy Napier is putting DJ Lagway in every 3rd drive. It ruins rhythm. It's just the way he's doing it, went about it is horrible, in my opinion. And Billy Napier, like I said, like the guy, I've been a huge advocate for Billy Napier. He's who I wanted. He was the coach I wanted. And unfortunately, it's just not going to work out. No hard feelings. Take your $26 million. take care of your family. Your family's set for life. That's generational wealth. But you can't coach my team anymore, big dog. I just can't. You're taking years off my life.
I will go and coach the University of Florida.
I bet you will.
I will coach. I'll do it for 18 mil.
Yeah, and I will give the ground.
I will give you the best 2 years of my life, and then you can fire me.
No, you're gonna run us into the ground because you're a Georgia fan. Now,
no, I would sincerely try my best.
Contrary to popular belief, TTG here take the great. I'll take $5 million a year, and I'll use whatever you were going to pay another coach, and I'll spread it out. I'll go hire me a great OC, a great DC. I'll hire the correct staff, and we will run the state of Florida in recruiting. We'll have the best NIL. Anyway,
I think Georgia for Georgia to have remained a dominant team after those 3 years, I think they should have realized what they were going to lose in Todd Monken. I think they should have thrown all the money in the world to keep him.
Yeah, I think Todd Monken was always going to go back to the NFL.
I think that was a bad look. I think Georgia should have at least, and like I said, you never know what happened behind closed doors. I mean, they could have offered him, freaking $6-7 million. But it's a shame. It makes me want to cry every day that he's gone.
So I'm guessing you're not a Bobo guy. You don't like Bobo?
No, let me tell you something about Mike Bobo. Mike Bobo has been a generational curse. And let me tell you why. My father hated Mike Bobo. I hate Mike Bobo. And when my son is old enough to even know what a Mike Bobo is, he will also hate Mike Bobo. I am calling for right now for Kirby Smart to fire Mike Bobo.
Who would you hire?
I mean, I don't even know. I mean, really and truly, with the amount with the coaching, you only have a finite amount of offensive coordinators that can coach a team like this.
You want to tell me who I'd hire? And this is no bullshit. This is who I would hire if I'm him. Somebody that doesn't have a job right now.
Billy Napier.
No. Hell no. Yes, if I'm Georgia, I would hire Billy Napier as the offensive coordinator. That will fix your program. No, I would hire Dan Mullen.
I like Dan Mullen.
Dan Mullen can't recruit, though. There's one thing, but Kirby Smart has built a machine up there at Georgia that's going to recruit itself. Dan doesn't have to worry about recruiting. You give him a couple million, he's already set for life and money, and just let him scheme up. Put him in a room by himself. Let the little nerd do what he does, and he's going to put points on the board. I can guarantee you that.
With Mike Bobo, and I'm sure Mike Bobo's a great guy, just like you said. But dude, for Christ's sake, like I can sit here. The opposing team does not even need to bring their defensive coordinator's team to put into the booth. They can just they can have me on the phone on the couch, and I can tell them exactly what Bobo's about to do.
Hey, I can do that with Billy Napier a lot. I remember in overtime, I was sitting here, I was eating dinner and watching overtime, and I said, I think it was like second, we took a shot at the end zone, wasn't mad at that. Incompletion, overthrow by Lagway, and then we got a false start. I said 2nd and 15. This smells like either a wide receiver screen or a running back screen. Sure enough, running back screen hit for a loss.
I could be wrong, but I will go as far to say that I do not think Georgia will ever win another national championship with Mike Bobo behind the helm of the offense.
Let me ask you this, and this will be my last question for you. Do you think Georgia runs the table the rest of the year? Not including the SEC championship and the playoffs? Do you think they win out the regular season? You've picked them to beat Texas. I think they play Florida. They're going to smoke us. They're going to roll us up in a Philly blunt, smoke us for lunch. And then I think they play Ole Miss. They play Georgia Tech. I can't remember who else they play, but I know they play UMass. Kill UMass.
I would have if we say we get past Texas. Yeah. Man, I think that is a really, really big, that's a kind of a signifier as where we're at this season. Because I, for one, obviously I know Texas is a great football team. But I still think that even with beating Oklahoma the way they did, I don't know if they proved themselves. They haven't really, you go look at their schedule. Everybody wants, they beat Michigan. Well, yeah, they beat a Michigan who lost arguably one of the best coaches that college football has ever seen. Plus, a whole host of other people. But let me see.
I know, like I said, I know you played Texas, Ole Miss, Mississippi. Y'all just played Mississippi State.
Ole Miss and Tennessee,
Oh,
and
Tennessee, yeah.
Tennessee is. Let me see
I
where
think y'all are at
Tennessee
home.
is. It looks like versus. It doesn't show here,
Hold
but
on,
it
I'll,
kind of
I'll
looks
look.
like. If we're at home, I think we give Tennessee a run for their money.
I think you beat
You know,
Tennessee no matter where
but
you play
yeah,
them, I'll be
I
honest.
think I think that we have a lot better choice. I'm just so weary about saying for sure because
Yeah, y'all
Tennessee
are at
is a
home.
good football team. But I feel like we beat Tennessee. Ole Miss, depending on they haven't looked super great the past couple weeks, so I think it's possible. Let's see I'll have a definite answer for you next week.
All right.
After we see what we do with Texas. Honestly, even if we lose, we might win out. But you've got two. It's going to be hard for us to really solidify a spot in the finals because if we don't get to play in the SEC championship, I think we might get left out. Um,
No,
but
if you're sitting at a 2-loss Georgia's in, I think a 3-loss, it would depend on what you guys have a lot harder schedule than say Ole Miss. So if Ole Miss is sitting at 3-loss and Georgia's sitting at 3-loss, I think Georgia gets in.
well, and
Obviously,
and that's the only reason I've had any faith against us beating Texas is because if you compare our schedule to theirs, and some of the comeback against Alabama, I was not expecting that whatsoever. I thought they were going to hang 60 on us after that first quarter. So let's see what we do next week, and then
all right. Breaking,
I'll feel better.
I do have Colin's picks. I'll go through them real quick just so you can hear them and the folks can hear them. Colin picks Miami, Indiana, Alabama, Georgia, Notre Dame. Even though last week, I think it was last week, Colin said this is Texas's year. He picks Georgia, so be interesting.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yep.
Look, it's going to be a great week of football again.
Oh
This
yeah,
has
I
been
can't wait.
probably one of the craziest weeks. I mean, craziest years of football ever. So, everyone have a wonderful week.
That's right.
Tate,
Let's get
you do
after
the
it.
same,
I'll see
pal.
you next week,
See
buddy.
you, brother.
All right.